You think surviving a haunted house is the end of the nightmare. But what if the nightmare doesn't stay behind walls? What if it follows you, waits in your blood, and knows every fear you've ever had? I thought escaping Whispering Woods would keep us safe. I was horribly wrong. The darkness didn't stay in the house. It came with us, hiding in shadows, in reflections, in every heartbeat. And the moment I saw it in the back seat that night, I realized something terrifying. This entity wasn't bound to a place. It was bound to us, to our family, to everything we thought we knew about safety and home. I always believed escaping that house meant escaping the nightmare, but I was wrong. The truth hit me the moment we drove into the dark highway that night. Something was sitting in our backseat. I only saw it for 1 second when the headlights flickered black eyes, a hollow face, and the moment the lights came back, it vanished. I screamed. Ethan hit the brakes, and the car skidded to the side. He said I was imagining things, but I knew what I saw. And when his reflection in the rearview mirror flickered with the same black eyes for just a moment, I knew the entity wasn't tied to the house. It came with us. When we reached home, everything looked warm, normal, safe. But the silence inside the house wasn't silence anymore. It was breathing. Ethan went to wash up. I went to the kitchen for water, and then I heard it. A whisper right beside my ear. "Emma, you left me." My glass fell and shattered. The lights blinked. The fridge door slowly opened on its own, revealing a single rotten black apple. The same kind I remembered from our childhood basement. The message was clear. It followed us. Ethan came in oddly calm, too calm. And when he smiled, something in that smile wasn't human. The next morning, I found Mom's burned diary in one of the storage boxes. And inside, she had written the words that froze my blood. The house was never the origin. It was only the container. It wants the children, Emma and Ethan. And if you're reading this, it found you. My hands trembled so hard I almost dropped the diary. And that's when Ethan suddenly appeared behind me and softly asked, "What are you looking for?" His voice sounded normal, but something behind the voice didn't. That night, everything spiraled. I woke up to the sound of footsteps, slow, dragging footsteps moving through the hallway. I walked out and there was Ethan, standing dead still with his back toward me. I whispered his name. He didn't move. And then a voice came out of him. A voice that wasn't his. A voice layered deep and cold enough to freeze air. It was always him. But you were always the easier one to scare. The lights flickered violently, and when he turned around, his eyes were pitch black. His veins had darkened, and a stretched, unnatural smile ran across his face. He stepped toward me, whispering, "Give me her memories. Give me the childhood you left behind." And the power in the entire house died. Pitch darkness. Only the sound of something massive breathing above us. I ran. I locked myself in the basement, shaking, crying, my heart beating so loud I thought it would burst. Down there, I found something I prayed I'd never see again, our old toy box. The same one from the Whispering Woods house. It slowly creaked open on its own. And inside were fresh, wet, bloody child handprints. My body went numb. Then I found a tape. A tape labeled, "For Emma, play only if it wakes up again." I played it. It was Dad's trembling voice. "Emma, if you're hearing this, then the curse found you first," I whispered, terrified. "Me, not Ethan." And the tape replied, "Yes, Emma. It marked you the day you were born. Ethan only sees it because it uses him to reach you. You were always the carrier." My mind shattered. I wasn't running from the entity Ethan was. I was the one it truly wanted. Suddenly, the basement lights flashed, and the entity appeared behind me, its full shape, a child-sized shadow with a twisted face and dozens of crying voices layered together. "Emma, you came back. Finish what your mother failed. Set me free." I sprinted out, ran through the doorway, tripped down the porch steps. Behind me, Ethan's voice broke through possession for one desperate second, whispering, "Emma." "Run!" before the entity slammed him back into darkness. I screamed his name, but the door shut violently, trapping him inside. I ran into the empty street, shaking under a flickering street lamp, when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You can't save Ethan until you return where it began." Another message. "Whispering Woods." And then a picture. A picture of me as a child, standing in our old basement. And behind me stood adult me, meaning this entity can twist memories. Twist time, twist identity. My voice trembled as I whispered into the empty night. "I thought going back home was our biggest mistake. I was wrong. Leaving it, waking it, was the real beginning. Now it has Ethan. And I have to go back to Whispering Woods before it rewrites everything we ever were." The streetlight flickered again, and from somewhere behind me, the entity whispered, soft and smiling, "Emma, come home." I never imagined I'd return to Whispering Woods. The road there twisted through fog and shadows, as if the forest itself was warning me to turn back. Every tree seemed alive, breathing, whispering my name. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, heart hammering, but I had no choice. Ethan was trapped, and I couldn't leave him. As I pulled up to the old house, the place looked abandoned, silent, yet I could feel it waiting. The front door creaked open before I touched it, and inside, everything was exactly how we had left it. Except it wasn't the house anymore, it was alive. The walls pulsed, breathing like lungs. The shadows stretched unnaturally across the floor. I called Ethan's name, and my own voice sounded foreign, swallowed by an eerie echo. Then I heard dozens of tiny footsteps running above me, circling, closing in, yet no one appeared. The old toy box sat in the hallway, lid slightly open. I stepped closer and found the same bloody handprints, fresh, wet. As if the children it had taken were still here, trapped between worlds. Suddenly the entity appeared. Not a shadow this time, but a twisted humanoid figure, taller than a man, with hollow black eyes and voices layered, crying, laughing, whispering secrets I didn't know I remembered. It lunged, but I ran upstairs into my childhood bedroom. Ethan's voice echoed from the attic. "Emma, help me." I ran to the attic ladder, and as I climbed, the temperature dropped. My breath fogged, lights flickered, and I realized the entity had learned to manipulate time. It replayed moments from our childhood, our parents' deaths, every fear we ever felt. I reached the attic. Ethan was there, trapped in a cage-like structure of shadows. His eyes glowed black, but for a split second, I saw him, my brother, pleading. I ran to open the cage, but the entity whispered, "One of you must stay, or both will be lost." Panic overtook me. I tried pulling Ethan free, but the shadows twisted, tightening like hands of smoke. He screamed, I screamed, and I felt the walls close in, the floor tilt beneath me. In the chaos, I remembered the old tape, the one Dad left. I shouted to Ethan to play it, and the voices faltered for a moment, giving me a chance. Shadows shrieked, clawed, twisted, but the attic window shattered, and we leapt onto the roof. Ethan barely held on. I pulled him to safety. Outside, the forest was silent again. For a moment, I thought we were free, but then my phone buzzed. A picture of us on the roof, and behind Ethan, a tall black figure standing, smiling. A message followed. "You can run, but you cannot hide. Blood remembers. And it always collects." My stomach dropped. I realized it wasn't just Whispering Woods. It would follow us anywhere. Ethan clung to me, and I whispered, "We have to stay together. We have to fight." But even as we drove away, I could see in the rearview mirror shadows flickering between the trees, moving faster than the car, whispering, "You came back." Now the game begins. The road ahead felt endless, fog curling around the headlights, like the forest itself was chasing us. Ethan clung to me, trembling, and I could feel him know it shifting inside him with every heartbeat. Whispering Woods was behind us, but the air in the car was thick, heavy, alive. The black eyes, the layered whispers, the shadows, they weren't tied to a house anymore. Every mile, the whispers grew louder in my mind. You can't escape, you are ours. Ethan's hands tightened on mine, and for the first time, I saw the shadow of the entity flicker behind him in the rearview mirror, stretching and twisting impossibly fast. I slammed the brakes when I saw it. Its long, smoke-like arms reached out toward the car, scraping across the hood as if testing the metal, testing us. My heart pounded, my mind screamed, but we drove faster through abandoned streets, darkened neighborhoods, nowhere safe, nowhere normal. And then the GPS died, the screens black, and the radio cracked to life with dozens of whispers overlaying each other. Return, return, return. Panic made me swerve into a side road, and suddenly the world shifted, the trees bent, the road twisted, and for a second, I swore we were back at Whispering Woods, but older, decayed, broken. It was as if the entity could manipulate reality itself. I tried to calm Ethan, but his body twitched violently, his voice changing mid-sentence. Emma, I can't. He whispered, then shouted in a voice that wasn't his own. We belong to it. I gripped the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. Then I remembered the tape again, the one Dad had left, the warnings about our bloodline. I realized that the only way to fight it was to confront it in its origin, in the place it was strongest, the forest, the house, the roots of its power. And so, against every instinct screaming at me to flee, I turned the car around. Every streetlight we passed flickered with shadows moving faster than our eyes could follow. A figure appeared in the distance, impossibly tall, black, with those hollow eyes staring through the fog directly at us. I could see it shaping Ethan, warping him, bending him, making him a vessel. I whispered to him, "Fight it, Ethan. Fight it with me." For a brief moment, his eyes flickered with recognition, his true self shining through the black void, and I could see hope. But the entity wasn't done. It threw visions into my mind, our childhood memories twisted into nightmares, our parents' deaths rewritten. The house breathing with malice, shadows crawling from walls, whispers that sounded like our own voices. I slammed the brakes when I saw the forest looming, Whispering Woods stretching before us like a living maw, trees twisted into gnarled fingers reaching for the sky. I could feel it calling, promising answers, promising reunion, promising death. I held Ethan's hand, heart hammering, and whispered, "If we go in, we might not come out. But if we don't, it will never stop." Now we stand at the edge of Whispering Woods again, the fog thick, the shadows crawling, and the whispers louder than ever. I can feel it waiting, shaping, twisting the world around us, promising answers, and promising death. Some nightmares don't stay in houses. They stay in your blood, in your memories, in the people you love. And this one is far from finished. Tell me, if you were in my place, would you step into the forest to face it? Or would you run and pray you could escape what's written in your blood? Part 3 will reveal more of the horror, the truth, and the choices we're forced to make. Until then, the shadows watch and the nightmare remembers. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to Reddit Sting Stories for the next terrifying chapter.